Ezra English. Idiom Series, Short Lessons. Topic, Foods and Drinks, Part 2. Eat one's words. Have you ever said something confidently, only to realize later that you were completely wrong? We all have been in that situation before, and sometimes, it can be embarrassing. This is where the idiom "eat one's words" comes into play. Eat one's words is an expression that means to retract or take back something that you said, usually because it turned out to be incorrect or inappropriate. Essentially, it means to admit that you were wrong and to take responsibility for your words. It can also mean to apologize for something you have said. The origin of this idiom dates back to the 16th century, where people would literally eat the paper on which they had written something that they regretted. The paper was often sprinkled with salt to make it easier to swallow. Nowadays, we don't eat paper, but the expression still holds the same meaning. Here are some examples of how this idiom can be used in everyday conversations. Example 1. Mary confidently told her friend that she would win the competition. However, when she lost, she had to eat her words and admit that she was wrong. Example 2. John said something inappropriate to his boss during a meeting. Later, he realized his mistake and apologized, saying that he was eating his words. Example 3. Sarah told her family that she would never eat sushi, but when she tried it for the first time and loved it, she had to eat her words and admit that she was wrong. Eat one's words can also be used in a speaking test. Here are some possible questions and answers using this idiom. Question. Have you ever said something that turned out to be completely wrong? Answer. Yes, I have. I once confidently told my friend that I was going to get an A on my exam, but when I got a C, I had to eat my words and admit that I was wrong. Question. What would you do if you said something inappropriate to someone? Answer. If I said something inappropriate to someone, I would apologize and admit that I was wrong. I would have to eat my words and take responsibility for what I said. Question. Have you ever tried a new food that you didn't think you would like? Answer. Yes, I have. I once told my family that I would never eat sushi, but when I tried it for the first time and loved it, I had to eat my words and admit that I was wrong. In conclusion, eat one's words is an idiom that means to retract or take back something that you said because it turned out to be incorrect or inappropriate. It is a reminder to be mindful of what we say and to take responsibility for our words. So, the next time you make a mistake, don't be afraid to eat your words and admit that you were wrong. It's better to own up to your mistakes than to pretend that you didn't make them. Half-baked. If you hear someone say that an idea, plan, or project is half-baked, they're suggesting that it is not yet fully thought through, lacks detail, and is not yet ready for implementation. The idiom is used to describe something that is incomplete, poorly developed, or not fully prepared. The origins of the term half-baked date back to the early 19th century, where baked referred to a thorough completion or being fully done. The prefix half suggests an incomplete or partially done state, hence the idiom refers to something that is only partially finished or not fully baked. In a conversational context, half-baked could be used to describe a range of things, from a plan or idea that is still in its early stages of development, to a dish that hasn't been fully cooked. For example, if someone is discussing a business idea that they're excited about, but haven't fully fleshed out yet, you could say, "That sounds like a good start, but it still feels a bit half-baked." Similarly, If someone brings a dish to a potluck that is undercooked or hasn't quite come together, you could comment, "I think this recipe might still be a bit half-baked. Maybe it needs a bit more time in the oven?" In a job interview or speaking test, you might be asked to describe a project or initiative you've worked on in the past. In this case, you could use the idiom to talk about a project that didn't go as well as you had hoped because it wasn't fully thought through or didn't have the necessary resources. For example, question: tell me about a project you've worked on that didn't go as planned. Answer: well, I was tasked with implementing a new system for tracking inventory at my previous job. At first, it seemed like a good idea, but in hindsight, I realized that the plan was a bit half-baked. We didn't have the resources we needed to make it work, and the team wasn't fully trained on the new system. As a result, it didn't work as well as we had hoped, and we had to go back to the drawing board. In a social context, you might use the idiom to describe a person who is not entirely trustworthy or reliable. For example, if a friend is known for being flaky or not following through on commitments, you could say, "I don't know if I'd trust them with this project." They can be a bit half-baked at times. Overall, the idiom half-baked is a useful phrase to describe something that is not yet fully developed or thought through. It can be used in a variety of contexts, from describing an idea or project in its early stages, to commenting on a dish that hasn't been fully cooked. In a speaking test or job interview, it can be used to discuss a project that didn't go well because it wasn't fully planned or didn't have the necessary resources.
A breadwinner. The term breadwinner is used to describe the person who earns money to support themselves and their family. It is often used to refer to the primary earner in a household or the person who provides financial support for others. The origin of the term breadwinner can be traced back to the medieval times, where bread was the primary food source for many families. The person who earned the money to buy the bread was considered the breadwinner. Over time, the term has evolved to include anyone who earns money to support themselves or others. In modern times, the breadwinner can be anyone, regardless of gender. It is a common misconception that the breadwinner is always the man in a household. However, many households have women as the primary earner or have both partners contributing equally. In speaking tests, questions related to the concept of being a breadwinner can be asked to gauge a person's understanding of financial responsibilities and family roles. Below are some examples of questions that can be asked. Who is the breadwinner in your family? What does being a breadwinner mean to you? Do you think being a breadwinner is a role that is assigned by gender, or should it be based on who earns more? What challenges do breadwinners face in today's economy? How important is it to have a breadwinner in a household? Can a person be a successful breadwinner while also balancing other responsibilities like parenting or education? To answer these questions, it is important to understand that being a breadwinner is not just about earning money but also about managing finances and providing for others. A successful breadwinner must be responsible, organized, and able to balance work and family life. In short, the term breadwinner refers to the person who earns money to support themselves and their family. It is a crucial role in many households, and the responsibilities of a breadwinner extend beyond just earning money. Understanding the concept of being a breadwinner is important for anyone who wants to take on this role or who wants to understand their own family dynamics. As cool as a cucumber. The phrase "as cool as a cucumber" is used to describe someone who remains calm and composed, even in stressful or chaotic situations. The origin of the phrase comes from the fact that cucumbers are known to be naturally cool to the touch, even on hot summer days. When someone is described as being as cool as a cucumber, it means they are not easily agitated or flustered, and can maintain their composure in challenging situations. It can also suggest a certain level of confidence and self-assuredness, as the individual is not rattled by external pressures. The phrase can be used in a variety of contexts, both casually and professionally. In everyday conversation, it might be used to describe someone who remains unfazed in the face of adversity, such as a friend who calmly handles a difficult situation at work. It can also be used to praise someone for their poise and grace under pressure. In more formal settings, such as job interviews or business meetings, the phrase could be used to describe a candidate's ability to remain calm and collected in high-pressure situations. For example, an interviewer might ask a job candidate to describe a time when they had to remain calm under pressure, and the candidate could respond by saying, "I'm generally as cool as a cucumber in stressful situations, but I recall one instance where I had to deal with an upset client. Despite their frustration, I remained calm and professional throughout."
Please subscribe to the channel for more content like this.